I really don't know how anyone can take me serious right now, but there it is. We're environmentally friendly. We repurpose and reuse things. Woo. Woo. Woo.
Let's stir it up. I'm going with Northern Iowa. I'm looking for the Bison to cover the Dogs.
Where's the bell? I think I'm a bad mix between Tom Landry and Ric Flair right now. I'm kind of a prop mess.
I can't even look at you. I'm going to have to look this way, actually, to talk to you.
This is going to be a total surprise for me. Like you, the fans, I'm going to see this when this video blog runs, so I hope it's good.
Final Four Friday here at the Fargo Dome as North Dakota State will face Sam Houston State, the winner to the FCS National Championship game in Frisco in 3 weeks' time. We've got quite the setup here, along with Big E, Eric Peterson, and Jeff Kolpack. I'm merely Dom Izzo, although we may have gained some popularity today. We're on the front page of the forum, so we thank everybody for that.
And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Kolpack's got a bullhorn, and we're ready to roll. The Bison at Sam Houston State will 7 o'clock, a little bit after 7 kickoff on ESPN2. Jeffrey, nobody expected Sam Houston State to be here. The Bearcats lost to a Division II team at the end of September. We wrote them off. Everybody wrote them off, but here they are, a win away from going back to Frisco. How have they done this?
Well, their coach didn't write them off, judging by his comments this week. How did they do it? Well, they have a lot of talent, and when you have a lot of transfers, sometimes it takes a long time to really put it together. Jared Johnson, I think, is the key. The guy is able to throw the ball much better than he did earlier in the season. And you talk to the head coach, one of the big reasons was he just didn't throw a lot last year. He charted, get this, Casey Keeler charted every practice last year by watching film over the summer. He saw he threw it a total of 113 times all season. He goes, that time, sometimes he throws it 113 in one practice.
Holy cow. Big E for Kyle Emanuel and Christian Dudzik. This is the 60th game they will play as members of the Bison. That's 2 away from the all-time FCS record, playing in the semifinals for a 4th straight year. 3rd straight year they're playing in the national spotlight on a Friday night. They're used to this. How do you think they'll perform here tonight?
Well, let's break out an early prop here, Dom.
Prop already. You're writing already.
Now pump the brakes, guys. Yep. This is not a score prediction, but I think you got to write it down to realize it. 56-3. That's the record of this senior class. Going in the 60th game, they've only lost 3 times. That's incredible. And like you said, I think that gives the Bison the edge in this game, having that experience. You have guys like Dudzik, you have guys like Hegel, you have guys like Emanuel, Carlton Littlejohn, who've been through this and can, maybe steer some of the younger players on this roster, like a Trey Dempsey, a Nick DeLuca, and an R.J. Yerzandowski on how to prepare for a game like this.
We look at the matchup. I go back to 2012 because I think you have to throw 2013 out, Jeff, because they were so much better than the rest of the field. But the Bison eked out a quarterfinal win that year against Wofford, and then they played a game for the ages against Georgia Southern. Do we see a copycat of that tonight with this game?
It's setting up that way just because Sam Houston is so explosive. Darius Brown on the outside, I know you want to talk about him later, but he's 6'4", 220 pounds. That's a beast. In fact, the head coach borrowed a term from you. He called he's in beast mode. It'll be that's going to be up to C.J. Smith. It's going to be one-on-one.
No
C.J. Smith is 5'11". Darius Brown, that's 5-inch difference.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in these playoffs where quarterbacks are not afraid on one-on-one coverage to throw it up for the jump ball. Coastal Carolina did it marvelous last week.
The biggest key for the Bison on offense has been taking care of the football, Jeff. No turnovers through the first 2 games. John Crockett is coming off an unbelievable performance against Coastal Carolina, and that's where Sam Houston is susceptible. Their rushing defense is not good.
4.7 yards per carry is what they're giving up. They're 74th in the FCS in rushing defense, 88th in pass defense, and 84th in overall defense. I mean, that's getting up there. There's only 120, 2 teams in FCS.
Correct.
Granted, they've been playing maybe a little better as the season has gone along, but stats are stats. I mean, those are still numbers I think that NDSU is going to exploit. I see John Crockett left, John Crockett right, and John Crockett up the middle.
Big E, Kolpack mentioned Jarrett Johnson and also Ladarius Brown. Bison fans will remember that three-headed monster with Bell, Flanders, and Richardson Sear. I think these are all three guys similar, but they're all bigger and maybe better than that three-headed team that they saw in 2011 and 2012.
Yeah, and that's the difference. You get a little more size on the perimeter. I guess this is where playing the teams like Kansas State, Iowa State early in this season, the last 2 years, gives a guy like C.J. Smith. He's seen, big receivers who can, get up the field. So those FBS games, this is a game where it might pay off because, by all accounts, Brown is an FBS-type player. And, Coastal Carolina went after those corners last week, and they went over the top. They threw jump balls and had the receivers go get it. And that's what Jeff brought up earlier. It's going to be on Jarrett Johnson because while the receivers went up and got him, Alex Ross put those balls in some nice spots, giving the receivers a chance. So Jarrett Johnson's going to have to be accurate. And if, the Bison can get an early pass rush, avoid the pass rush like Alex Ross was able to last week.
Okay, here's the question, though. Does NDSU give safety help? Do they give safety help on Ladarius Brown?
They may have to try and stop him tonight.
I would guess, Hegel kind of plays the same role helping in run defense, but I think you got to put Dudzik over the top of Brown, at least to begin with. I don't think you want him hitting a big play early in the game, so maybe this is a game where you have Dudzik maybe stay back a little more, not sneak up to help out the run game as much.
Our Media Blog pregame show, we're live on WDAY's Extra, WDAY.com, as we lead you up to the Bison and Sam Houston with a 7 o'clock kickoff. There's two topics I want to talk about with you boys off of last week's game with Coastal Carolina. First up, Coastal had been here, South Dakota State had been here, so the crowd wasn't as big a factor. It didn't deter them as much as previous playoff teams. Sam Houston State has not been here. Last time was 2007. How much of a factor do you think the crowd will be tonight?
Well, Sam Houston State is a younger team than Coastal Carolina, and it's a younger team certainly than South Dakota State. If it's ever going to have an effect, it would be today. It had an effect on Georgia Southern. You have some great fans back here,
really
by
do.
the way. It certainly had an effect on Georgia Southern the first time it came here in 2011. In 2012, perhaps not as much. But I would, has Jarrett Johnson, how is he at the silent count? How is that offensive line at the silent count?
Right.
They really, I don't think they've had to use it this year. Last week, Villanova, there's nobody there.
No. Now, Biggie, the counterpoint would say, well, they played at LSU. They played a game at Reliant Stadium where the Texans play. But how jacked up were those crowds at LSU where it was 56-0? They played at Eastern Washington. We've been out there. That atmosphere is not exactly huge. I think it's going to be a huge I think it really will be a factor tonight.
Well, we've seen through the years teams that are coming here for the first time have struggled. You go back to Georgia Southern. It was 2012. The first time they came in here, it wasn't a 35-7 game like it ended up being, but it got away from them. The next year they come in, they almost win that game. Coastal Carolina, last year they come in here, they fall down early, get overwhelmed. This year they come in, they fall down early, they find a way to steady themselves and make it a game. So I think that could be a factor because I think new teams, it takes them a little bit longer to get acclimated to the sound and the actual. It's one thing to say, yeah, we're going to pipe in music, we get their sound, but to experience it, that's the key. Can you handle it when the rubber hits the road and you're out there?
Now, the other big topic of the week, Jeff, is every score prediction I've seen has seen the Bison giving up 30, giving up 27, giving up 41, and that's after what Chris Kleiman laughed off your question. I still thought it was a good one about being in a shootout last week with Coastal Carolina. So has the defense fallen apart? Because I think they're primed to play a better game tonight. I really believe that.
Well, in talking to the players this week, they certainly seemed offended by that because they haven't given up more than 30 since
Eastern Washington.
Eastern Washington 2010. And keep in mind, one of those touchdowns was a kickoff return.
Right.
So you really,
same in Eastern Washington, by the way, as well.
So you really can't hinge that on the defense. That's why I think you're going to see a lot of the Bison running game because the best way to stop an offense is not let them have the ball.
Yeah.
So ball control, NDSU, #1 in time of possession in the country almost all season. That's a big stat, especially in playoff games.
Biggie, you saw this defense up close and personal the last 3.5 years. I think they took that personally last week.
Well, I guess that's yet to be seen. Was it something where Coastal Carolina found something that Sam Houston can use in this game, or is it just a blip on the radar and that Bison defense is going to come back more motivated than ever? Colton Hegel said it during the week. He didn't feel they tackled well, but we looked at some of those plays. D'Angelo Henderson was a tremendous back. I'd say a lot of times he made guys miss more than they missed tackles. But that said, Dom, I think it's time for me to get out of here. I think we got a special guest in the wings, so I will I'll retire here for a little bit and come back later.
All right, Big E's coming back with props galore, I know, coming up later in our pregame show. I want to talk about how much they're missing Travis Beck, because that's something that Chris Kleiman talked about last week, that was the first time they actually noticed him out there, maybe a little bit in the South Dakota State game. What do you think about that?
A lot of times you don't notice players until they're gone, and Travis Beck certainly was one of those players. He's so versatile, or was so versatile. I hate to say that now, but he can play the run so well, and he's fast enough. He can guard a receiver out in the flat. I mean, that's some pretty good stuff. And now it's going to be up to Esley Thornton. Esley Thornton has got to be able to handle that job.
Travis Beck is a huge guy that they have missed over the last little bit. We'll see how much that's a factor in tonight's game. Now, this is the third time this year, we must be going up in stature, that we've got a commissioner of an FCS conference on the pregame show. We've had the Missouri Valley commissioner on, we had the SoCon commissioner, and now we got the Southland commissioner in Tom Burnett. It's great to see you again.
Tom, Jeff, good to see you.
Good to see you, Tom.
Always good to be here.
You have your own crowd.
Thank you.
How about that?
They're very friendly before the game, I see, Dom.
All right, calm down, calm down.
Now, this is your team. First off, your initial impression, this is the first time you've been in Fargo.
I love all of you, but blood is thicker than water. So we're here to end this tonight. But if we don't, we'd love to have you back in Frisco. You know that. So I want to make that very clear from the beginning. So we have a great admiration for all of you, and just it's great to be at the mecca of FCS football.
This is the ultimate catch-22, because you've got a team playing tonight in your conference. Obviously, you want to see the Southland offices are in Frisco, but you know that this throng and about times 13,000 will be in Texas in 3 weeks' time. So are you pulled a little bit tonight?
Well, you know, we fully understand what happens with an NDSU win. Frisco's going to benefit greatly from it, but again, my paycheck is partly signed by the president at Sam Houston State. So, you know, again, blood is a little thicker than water here, but we're excited. This is great. I wish this were the matchup again in Frisco, obviously. But, you know, the Sam Houston team's really come out of nowhere over the last few weeks. And, you know, they played us as well as any of our teams have in recent years in the playoffs the last couple of weeks.
Let's go back to the start of this playoffs. You had two league teams matched up in the first round. Your thoughts on that, and how can the system avoid that?
Well, you know, Jeff, we knew the rule. Everyone knew the rule, and it could happen. But when it actually happens, you don't like it at all. Yeah. And it was unfortunate. Two really good teams had to play each other, so we had to forfeit. We knew one would advance, and it's unfortunate, but I'll tell you, there was a little bit of a dynamic because they had not played each other in the regular season, so there was a newness to it. It wasn't like they had played 3 weeks earlier and they've got to do it all over again. But as you've seen here, in the second round, that can happen in other conferences as well. So it's just one of those things, and I wish it didn't occur. We accepted it and kind of moved on.
The preseason poll in the Southland had Southeastern Louisiana. It had McNeese up there. Sam Houston was almost an afterthought. Well, they had afterthought to you as well, knowing they had a completely new team, and then after how the Eastern Washington game went.
It would have been real easy to say, with all the changes, you know, those teams from 2 and 3 years ago that the Bison played in Frisco, you know, they really don't exist anymore. So this is a whole new setup, new coach, new staff, a lot of new players, maybe one or two role players from those teams that are now factors on the squad this year. So it would have been easy, and I probably wasn't thinking Sam Houston when we were all at Media Day back in the summer. But, you know, Coach Keeler, he's got a great track record. He has done this before. He knows how to coach in the playoff. And I tell you, they have done a pretty marvelous job climbing the mountain so far, but now I think we're at the mountain peak tonight. We'll see what happens.
Well, let's talk about Coach Keeler. That's a pretty good hire because he led Delaware to a national title. Sometimes people just get tardy. Whatever happened in Delaware, it happened. But Sam Houston comes along. How did they get him, and how's that fit?
You know, as I understand it, he approached Sam Houston. So I know he had been in television broadcasting for a year after coaching at Delaware. And I just think it just I know there were some other great candidates, but in the end, I think the president and athletic director had a comfort with the vision that KC was laying out for them, which was to play in games like this, to compete for a national championship, and here they are. So probably ahead of schedule. I think he would be the first to admit that. Brought in a lot of transfers. Team probably was kind of a mess early on. You know, 1-3 start, lost to a Division II team at home. Just couldn't quite get it together, but, you know, now they've won 10 in a row. So, you know, they're as good and they belong in this game. So.
this is another big-time market opportunity for your league, also for the Missouri Valley. The Southland got on TV, obviously, on ESPN with the Eastern Washington game, and obviously the 2 previous championship games with Sam Houston. What has that meant to your league, and another game tonight on ESPN too?
Well, you can't put a number on it. The value of that is tremendous. To have them play in the first FCS kickoff, and I know NDSU is in that game next year, which we're all excited about as well. You can't put a value on it. There are a lot of teams that have left our conference to go to FBS that would never get this kind of broadcast opportunity. And, we're grateful for that, and we think it's a real positive to, be a very strong team in the FCS as opposed to something else in the FBS.
The Southland and NDSU have a little in common, Jeff, because Stephen F. Austin won a game in the NCAA tournament last year, much like NDSU. Yeah. That's another huge boon for your league as well.
Absolutely. It's we all love the football, and culturally it's a fantastic thing, just like here it is at NDSU. But basketball kind of pays the bills in Division I athletics. So success in that basketball tournament means everything. And that SFA team may be back again this year.
Really good.
Well, you brought a light jacket, Commissioner. You're pretty a tough guy.
Oh, I've got layers, Jeff.
Okay.
Although I've got to admit, it's not 4 below here today. So
it could have been. It could have been.
It can be 30 degrees in Frisco too. So I'm okay right now. I'm going to get inside pretty quick though.
The biggest thing I think for Bison fans and for fans that are going to watch the game in 3 weeks' team, how's the field? Because that was the biggest concern that every Bison fan that watched the game last year. How's FC Dallas Stadium making out right now?
Well, last year we did everything the same that we did in the previous 3 years of the game, and that after the Major League Soccer season they replaced the stripe. The problem was we had an ice storm, which is you can handle here. We don't handle it very well in Texas. That burned the field, didn't allow it to root. What they did this year, they did not remove the middle stripe. It's been a while since we've had Major League Soccer and high school playoff games. So we all agreed after that game that whatever condition the grass was in, that's what we were going to live with. So we hope it's in great shape. I know the grounds crew there does a great job. I think the field will be in really good shape and certainly won't be coming up like it was last year.
What's the future of the Southland hosting this game? You guys have done obviously a great job. I mean, we've been there 3 years. It's been top-notch. I know the Bison coaching staff last 3 years said it was top-notch. What's the future?
Yeah, Jeff, we're in the second year of our current 3-year contract, so there's one more on the contract. I think after this game we'll begin to talk to the NCAA about a renewal plan, and what that is exactly we'll have to wait and see. We'd like to do it more than a 3-year extension. We'd like to have it for 5 or so years, so we'll see what the NCAA has in mind on that as well.
Well, Mayor Masso, you need a more outgoing mayor than him.
Well, I noticed the mayor was here back early in the fall when it wasn't 30 degrees.
Yeah.
So, but he's a great guy and the greatest advocate we could have for this game.
We really appreciate you stopping by on a busy day. Good luck.
Tom.
Enjoy the game
We'll
tonight.
see you inside. Thank you.
Tom Burnett, the commissioner of the Southland Conference, giving us a few minutes here today. Sam Houston State, 3rd time in 4 years that the Bearcats are into the semifinals. And I don't think anybody expected that out of this team this season. He's going to get a rousing send-off as well before he heads out. He's done a great job. Be down there in Frisco. It is a big-time environment. I've not covered any big-time bowl games, but being down there, they make it seem like that it's a big-time environment.
Yeah, I've covered Division II title games over the years, and when you look at what FCS did in their game and all that they went into it, all the banquets,
right.
I mean, that doesn't happen at the D2 level. Not sure about the D3 level, as we're almost getting plummeted by objects here, but I think they have the support of the local government. They have the support of the city. It's a growing city. Plano, Texas has done a fantastic job, the nearby suburb, and it's really almost a perfect marriage.
The biggest thing that everyone's been talking about this week is the Division II loss to Pueblo. How much can we draw into that? Because now it seems like it's a completely different team. And by the way, Pueblo is playing for the D2 championship tomorrow against MSU Mankato.
Well, you got to keep in mind that Sam Houston was coming off a loss at LSU at 56-0. And got home late, didn't get up for the game. They admit it. They said they didn't get up as D2. Thought they could just walk into the game, put on their helmets, and win. Well, it's probably like the wake-up call. It's like NDSU almost losing Northern Iowa in the respect that sometimes you really got to get ice water in the face, to really move forward.
Big E rejoins us. I want to talk to you about Carson Wentz's play since that Northern Iowa game. He's been unbelievable. 11 touchdowns to 3 picks, no turnovers in the postseason. He plays clean tonight. I don't think the Bison lose.
Well, it just shows you after that Northern Iowa game, in your head you're thinking, how is he going to respond to his kind of first real adversity? He had faced adversity within games, with throwing a few interceptions in some games, maybe not, being as accurate. But that was just, totally kind of getting handed to you as a team at Northern Iowa, and he responded great. I mean, his throw to R.J. Yerzandowski that beat South Dakota State in the first round on that stage is about as good a throw as you're going to see out of a quarterback by him at this level. He's done a nice job of mixing in the run game. Everyone talked about Brock Jensen, where they have that same run game element. It's a little different. He might be a little more elusive than Jensen, but he's added that run game element. In the playoffs, 0 turnovers. I think 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown each game in each of the first 2. So to this point, I mean, you got to give him an A for his playoff performance.
Brock Jensen always played his best in the biggest moments, and Carson Wentz is following suit in that.
Well, and Brock Jensen was so good when it counted.
Yeah.
And Carson Wentz has been
really good.
So good when it's counted. You're right. Those no turnovers, big key so far in the playoff run. And when you have a ball control offense, you just can't be giving it away. I think Carson Wentz might be seen more on the run today, too, because he's got that ability. He's 6'6", he's fast, and he's tough. We've seen some toughness from him in the last 3 weeks that we never saw before.
I thought it was great. A reporter asked a question on Monday when Carson hit the Coastal Carolina. Or you asked the question.
That was Dom. Come on.
God, that was you who hit the Coastal Carolina defensive back, and that was a heck of a pop. And Chris Kleiman had the best answer.
Well, he said, well, that guy left the game and Carson stayed in. The question I'd ask is, are you a little concerned when Carson at the end of the runs tries to run people over and maybe be a little more conservative because, he's playing at a high level. You want him in there, but like you said, he's a tough guy. And I think when you get to this point of the season, I think coaches you just got to go for broke. This isn't game 3 of the regular season. This is to extend your season or end your season. So I think a lot of that stuff about preserving your body goes out the window in a game like this.
Let's talk briefly about the other semifinal. That goes tomorrow at 1 o'clock in New Hampshire. Illinois State, the other Missouri Valley team, still kicking, takes on the Wildcats, the number 1 overall seed. I think Illinois State opened up a lot of eyes, what they did last week at Eastern Washington.
Yeah, Marshawn Coppridge, that's the first time I've seen him play. Boy, he's got some jets, and he's a pretty tough player. Illinois State is playing well. They played one last game. Is that a factor?
Might be right now. And they had they've had 3 bye weeks on the season right now.
Yeah, so they're pretty healthy and fresh and ready to go. The one question is they played on the West Coast last week.
Now going all the way to the
opposite
opposite
coast. Now you have to go to the
coast.
East Coast this week. Is there a fatigue factor there? You're young. I know you travel. But still, people say travel is tough.
Your buddy Ron Burgundy, everybody is on Brock Spack's team. What do you make of tomorrow's matchup?
I think Illinois State has a really good chance of winning that game, and I think Trey Roberson's kind of the X factor. They could run the ball last year, but they didn't have that passing game, and Roberson can beat you with his arm, he can beat you with his legs. That defense has proven to be pretty solid. I mean, granted, they gave up a lot of points at Eastern Washington last weekend, but they gave up a lot late when the game was kind of out of reach. So they have a nice team, and their special teams has played well too, and that's something that going back to this game, NDSU's got to get better at special teams in this game, specifically covering kicks. Their punting and field goal kicking's been solid. Their kick coverage has not been near where it was last year.
I want to talk about that real briefly before we get into our predictions, because Kyle Emanuel, Colton Hegel, Christian Dudzik are all going to play special teams tonight. How big a deal is that? On coverage, we're talking.
Well, I guess it's late in the season. It's do or die now, right, as they say in the cliche. I would. I mean, if you're giving up touchdowns, at the risk of these guys getting tired, I would put them out there.
All right, everybody's been waiting for it. They're all gathered around. I want to see a couple of these signs. You had one sign saying I was predicting a Bison win. I think today, if Carson Wentz plays well, no turnovers, I think Andrew Bonnet's going to score a touchdown tonight. I'm calling that.
The flow mode.
Flow brothers are going to get in. Kyle Emanuel, after winning the Buck Buchanan on Monday, has a big-time performance tonight. Sam Houston's going to score its points. I think they're going to get 3 touchdowns tonight. I have the Bison winning 34-23 and going back to Frisco for a 4th straight year. No surprise the Bison fans like that. All right, Jeffrey, what do you have for me?
Hey, where's my guest? Is my guest
you have a
here?
guest?
Where's my guest?
Where's the belt? Where's the belt? Where's the belt?
They're asking for the belt.
Where's the belt?
We started the season with Miss North Dakota.
Yes.
And we're going to end the season, hopefully.
Oh, look at this.
I defer to you.
Wait a minute.
I defer to you.
The one and only Brock Jensen is here with us. Wow. Well, how about that? We threw a surprise at you, Big E. The one and only Brock Jensen with the belt is back here. Welcome back.
Great to be back. Great to be back at Tailgate. Love this place.
You took the belt from Big E for the last couple weeks. You've had it. You've hung on to it. I think he wants it back.
I borrowed it without asking. Okay? That's what it was.
Prediction for tonight. What do you think happens? You've seen Sam Houston State. You know them pretty well.
Man, they're going to be good. They're going to play a lot of man coverage on defense, something that we've seen in the past from them. But I think it's going to be a close game. But like always, we're going to find a way to pull it out. We're going to find a way.
No surprise, he's picking NDSU, and the belt is back just for you, Big E.
All right, well, yeah, I was hoping to use it as a prop today, but, we got the Christmas tree in the background, stockings in the front, and we're close to Christmas, so that leads me to this.
We get more props.
It's time for ugly sweater mode. And what I mean
was that Jim Tressel's?
It could be Jim Tressel's ugly sweater vest. But anyway, what I mean by that, I don't think the Bison want a shootout like they had a little bit last week. They need this game to be ugly. They got to get back to ground and pound, playing that smash mouth defense, and leaning on that running game. And I think they're going to be able to do that enough today because I don't even know if they have ugly sweaters in Texas.
I don't know. They don't need them.
But it's a very talented Sam Houston State team. NDSU 31. Sam Houston State 24. I think NDSU finds a way to get it done at home in the playoffs and find a way to get back to Frisco.
You have to wear that to Frisco.
I am not wearing this to Frisco.
Wear that with the belt. You got a pretty good look going for it there, right? Well, we had a guest. We had a special guest we didn't even know we had lined up with Brock Jensen showing up here, and the belt has come out. I asked for it all season, so it seems fitting we get it in the final home game of the year.
Well, Kolpack brings in Miss North Dakota, a 3-time national championship quarterback, and all I have is an ugly sweater. So I guess I can't compete.
Well, this normally goes on my shoulder. All right, we saved the best for last. What do you got for us?
Well, I was going to have a special guest myself, but he didn't show up.
Oh, blew you off?
He blew me off. Well, yeah, Brock Jensen.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. But I say we started the year with Miss North Dakota.
Yes.
We were going to end with Steve Walker, but the last guy to throw a touchdown pass in the dome,
yes,
he must have got held up in traffic. But I go back to this game. It's going to come down to NDSU's rushing game. They're able to control the line of scrimmage, able to control the ball. I know everybody said about NDSU's defense. I don't see them giving up 30.
No,
I just don't see it. They're too much experience and too good. I look at NDSU 31, Sam Houston 23.
You want to broadcast that on the bullhorn so everybody can hear it?
My prediction, NDSU 31, Sam Houston 23.
That is not allowed inside the Fargo Dome. I think that's an NCAA violation. There's no way that's allowed. All right, folks, so there you have it for our Media Blog pregame show. We've got an action-packed day still to come. I don't know if Big E can make it out here alive with his sweater on. I'm not sure. If you're giving this out for Christmas gifts,
that is hideous.
I'll decline. I don't want any gifts from you.
I think this sweater's an NCAA violation, so I cannot bring it into the dome. So I think it's going to stay packed away after this.
Now, every game up until the season finale, we thank Brock Jensen for stopping by. I called Travis Beck to score a defensive touchdown. You got to go on a limb and call someone scoring a defensive touchdown for me today.
Nick DeLuca. I like him. I think he's got good hands in coverage. If he gets a deep drop, they underthrow a pass. Nick DeLuca's going to undercut her out, take it to the house. Let's go with the freshman. I guess he's a sophomore. I like it.
If Sam Houston State wants to win tonight, what do they have to do?
Well, they're going to have to come up with a big play. They're going to have to come up with a turnover at a key time. And they're going to have to – NDSU was great in the fourth quarter defensively. They're going to have to be able to move the ball all 4 quarters.
Should be a fantastic game. Chris Kleiman's going to join me live on the field at 5 o'clock inside the Fargo Dome. We'll get a last-minute preview of the Bison head coach as NDSU gets set for its matchup with Sam Houston State. Our live blog will launch just after 6 o'clock. We'll also be live on the field with Matt Larson, NDSU athletic director, to get his thoughts on his first go-around in the FCS semifinals and playing on a Friday night. Kickoff is supposed to be a little bit after 7. Kolpack, the Bison game might be pushed back because of a high school basketball game that ESPN2 is televising. That's why the kickoff is a little bit after 7 tonight. So for people watching the game and not going to tonight, that's why the kickoff a little bit after 7 tonight.
Be flexible.
Just be patient. The game will be on, but that's what is going on. And, of course, deadline mode tonight, Big E. It's going to be a crazy frenzy to the finish for us.
Yeah, my fingers are going to have to do the talking tonight, and I don't know if I'm going to have enough gas in the tank at the end. But
you're going to have an escort to the Dome after your front page appearance in the paper today?
Nah, we got Brock Jensen. He's taking all the heat off of me. I don't know if I'm like an E-list celebrity. If you go A, B, C, D, E, is there a level below that? Maybe that's where I'm at.
All right, he called DeLuca touchdown. I said Bonnet. What do you think? You want to go out on a limb and call a touchdown tonight?
Well, I'm not in the habit of calling touchdowns, but I think C.J. Smith's due for a big play. I know. I mean, the spotlight's on him.
No doubt.
It's him and Ladarius Brown. Ladarius Brown's going to get his catches. I think C.J. Smith will make a play.
You're saying an all-Missouri Valley championship game then in 3 weeks' time?
It's sure setting up that way, absolutely.
Should be a fantastic environment. We thank our fabulous crowd. Thank you guys, everybody, for hosting us today. This was fabulous. The guys at Six Flags are not going to take this very well. I want to thank everybody for hosting us. Yes.
The bar's been raised.
We thank everybody for hosting us this year for all 9 home games. You did a tremendous job. We did it live this season for the first time, watching on WDAY's Extra and WDAY.com. So thanks, everybody, for watching. Thanks to Ryan Babb, who makes it happen behind the scenes. For Big E, Eric Peterson, and Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. We'll see you post-game. The Bison and Sam Houston State, the winner to go to Texas.